Hi guys, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. The fly you see in the vise is a culmination of many different patterns. It's to represent a damsel fly. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H260 barbless hook. This one's at size 8, it's on a heavy wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Trout line. It's the Sumo thread at 50 denier. As you can see, it's black. Now, it's a nano silk type thread, so as always with these types of thread and the hooks that are finished in shiny black nickel, I like to just get a little bit of super glue onto the shank to prevent body rotation. I'm going to use my thread to spread that glue, and then I'm going to lay down a bed of silk. Now, I was on Grapham at the weekend there, and the amount of damsels that are about, should I say, at the moment is ridiculous. So it's always worthwhile having a few different patterns in your box. So I'm going to bring my thread back up to about 1/8 of an inch before the eye of the hook, and I'm going to use some of the Prime Marabou long from Nature Spirits. This is the olive, nice long fibres. And I'm going to take between my thumb knuckle and my thumbnail as a guide. Then I'll fold that together now. What I always do is the bits where you've ripped it from the stem, I'm just going to remove that over my wastebasket. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is a culmination of a lot of different flies. Damsel patterns that I've used over the years, and as I go I'll explain where they've come from. So overall the patterns really come from Ronnie's Damsel. That's the profile that I was going for here. Now, if you haven't seen Ronnie's Damsel, I have done a tie-in, and I will stick a little card up in the top corner of your screen, and you can check that out, and it's a very effective pattern. So I'm just going to remove a bit of the tail. Now, this next part comes from Adrian Nisi. So those of you who fished Beale Water back in the day will remember Adrian. He's one of the best nymphing anglers I've ever come across. So I'm using some Glow Bright number 5, and I'm going to take a strip off. Now, when Adrian gave me his damsel pattern, it had these Glow Bright runners in the pattern, and it was tied on a double hook. We don't see many of them nowadays. We've kind of evolved as fly anglers, and a lot of the fish are going back into the water, so there's not many people, even the competition anglers, that use double hooks anymore. Now, I've run that up my side. I'm going to grab it, I'm going to come back up in open turns, and then run it down your side. Just turn it to the side so I can see what I'm doing, and I'll catch that in like so. Now, I don't want them running the full length of the tail, so I'm going to grab both strands and trim them up. If you do it like that, you get the same length on both sides. Now that I've got that in place, I'm going to damp down my thumb and forefinger just to collapse that marabou tail. Keeps everything nice and neat. The next thing I want to add is my rib, and what I'm using is some of this Durham fly tying range. I haven't got very much of it. It's quite a thin holographic blue, and I've already got a bit off here that I've been working away with, so I'm going to catch that in on my side. So Ronnie's Damsel's a very old fly now. I think the actual person that invented it was Charlie Will, but Ronnie stole the credit, and we've called it Ronnie's Damsel ever since. But it's certainly, the blue rib was an addition by me at the time, and we used to use a marrot, just to, what I plucked off the end of the marabou tail we would use as the body, but we're a bit more sophisticated nowadays, and we're using some of this Damsel. It's from Kindale. I've already taken a bit out of the packet. It's a lovely, easy to use dubbing, and it adds an extra element of bling to the fly, if you like. There's quite a lot of sparkle in it. Now I'm going to put on about 2 inches worth at the minute, and then I'll bring it up the fly, try and keep it fairly even. It just needs another little bit, which I'm going to add on, and then I'll leave plenty of room at the front. Now when you're tying any kind of booby pattern, it always pays to leave yourself plenty of space at the front of the fly. Now the holographic, it's quite thin and it's quite fragile, so to back that up, if you like, we're going to just put a little layer of super glue onto the side that's going to go onto the fly, and then I'll carefully, avoiding the hook point, bring that over the top, and I'm looking for around 3 to 4 turns up the fly. And the super glue, all it does really is it helps to protect the rib from the trout's teeth. If you're using thin ribs, I'm sure many times you've tied flies up, and after 1 or 2 fish, they're absolutely gone. The rib's spiralling off, and it's now a tailing flash in the tail. The next thing then is to add in our hackle, and what I'm using is some of Trout Line's partridge neck and back, and I've just taken a feather out the bag. I'm going to get rid of all this rubbish over my bin, like so, and then I'll catch the tip of the feather with my hackle pliers, just to create a little Christmas tree, like so. Then I can take away with my scissors just enough, so I'm leaving myself enough to tack in. Now before I do that, I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of wax. I'm going to turn the feather round out, so the feather bends naturally. You'll see it bending naturally, and I want this to sweep back. I don't always want that, but on this occasion I do want the feather to sweep back. So I'm going to come in, just make sure I've caught that in. I don't want to trap all my fibres. Come down hard on that, and then I'll come in with my hackle pliers and grab this. Now Ronnie's Damsel originally had a red-headed, the hackle finished right near the eye of the hook, and it was done in red thread, so we had a red thread, but I just thought I would give this a go with the booby eyes. Another fly, of course, that's heavily influenced my choice here is the bejesus. So a lot of success on Grapham at the moment with that fly, due to the amount of damsels that are about currently. So I've got that wrapped round. I'm going to come over and trap in the hackle. Now I'll release my hackle pliers. I'm going to wet my thumb and forefinger in my left hand, sweep everything back, and I'm just going to secure that into place. Now there's a couple of little outliers there. I'll grab the stalk, just pull it away for the feathers. I don't want to rip all the hackling I've just tied as well. It's proving a bit stubborn actually, so I think I'm going to come in with my scissors. Excuse me, I know this is just off the camera, but there we go. I've just cut that stalk away, and I've got that hackle going on. Now, the last piece of the puzzle, if you like, for this fly. I've got a little TicToc here. This is obviously blue, high density foam. If you're not sure how I get to this stage, I'll put another little card up in the corner there showing how I make my booby eyes. And basically, once you've watched that video, you'll know that I've got a small hole which is in the centre of the tube, and I want to line up my thread with that hole, and I use that as a marker so that when I put the booby eyes on, they're central and fairly even. Now, it's important to have even eyes for a couple of reasons. Aesthetically, it looks better, but practically, if your eyes are not even, what happens is you end up with a spinner. The fly will spin in the water rather than hold steady and move up and down like that. Sorry, I'm just off camera there waving my hand like an idiot. But so what you get is a much better movement. Now, I'm not finished with that yet, so I'm going to come back to my dubbing, and I just want to get a very thin amount of dubbing onto my thread. Now, the reason for this is I want to get it in between the eyes, and I want it to finish quite near the front. So I only need a couple of turns. I'll go in a figure of 8 motion, that way twice and that way twice. So I've got a bit of dubbing in between the eyes and around the bottom. Then I can bring my thread to the front. Now, I'm not going to worry about putting super glue on the thread, because I'm going to put quite a liberal amount of super glue onto the dubbing that I've just put on. Once I've got that whip finished, I can come in with my snips like so. Now, you don't have to use blue. I'd tie this fly with yellow eyes to great effect, or you could use black, green, whatever colour you fancy, but I just thought I'd give the blue a go. Now, where would I fish this? To my mind, it's very obviously a point fly, because it's fairly big, tied on a size 8, which still fits in the competition gauge, I might add. If you're that way inclined. Just getting some super glue in at the bottom. Take away them bits and bobs, and then probably, and it is designed to fish at Grapham, I would fish a couple of shrimp patterns up for this, so like a washing line technique if you like, and hopefully take a few bonus fish on this damsel. So, thanks very much for watching the video. If you're getting some value, please think about subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.